Hello students, I am Ms. Anshul, Assistant Professor at School of Legal Studies, BBD University. I will be teaching you political science, under which I will be covering Revolt of 1857. The Revolt of 1857 is an important landmark in the history of India, which occurred during the Governor Generalship of Lord Canning. The Indian Mutiny of 1857 to 1859 was a widespread but unsuccessful rebellion against the rule of British East India Company in India, which functioned as a sovereign power on behalf of the British Crown. The revolt. It was the first expression of organized resistance against the British East India Company. It began as a revolt of the sepoys of the British East India Company's army, but eventually secured the participation of the masses. The revolt is known by several names like the Sepoy Mutiny, the Indian Mutiny, the Revolt of 1857, and the First War of Independence. Causes of the revolt. The revolt of 1857 was a combination of political, economic, socio-religious and military cause. Political cause. Nana Sahib was refused pension as he was the adopted son of Peshwa Bazirao II. Awadh was annexed in 1856 on charge of maladministration. Satara, Jhansi, Nagpur and Sambalpur were annexed on the ground of doctrine of lapse. Economic causes. Heavy taxation, forcible eviction, discriminatory tariff policies against the Indian products, and destruction of traditional handicrafts that hit peasants and artisans. Socio-religious cause. The rapidly spreading Western civilization in India was alarming concern all over the country. An act in 1850 changed the Hindu law of inheritance, enabling a Hindu who had converted into Christianity to inherit his ancestral property. The people were convinced that the government was planning to convert Indians to Christianity. British social reforms like abolition of sati in 1829, legalization of widow remarriage in 1856 hurted the sentiments of orthodox and conservative people. Military causes. Discrimination with Indian soldiers like Indian sepoys formed more than 87% of the British troops in India, but were considered inferior to British soldiers. And Indian sepoys were paid less than a European sepoys of the same rank. They were required to serve in the areas far away from their homes. In 1856, Lord Canning issued the General Service Enlistment Act, which requires that the sepoys must be ready to serve even in British land across the sea. Immediate cause. The introduction of Enfield rifle, whose cartridges were said to have a greased cover made of beef and pork, sparked off the revolt. Before loading these rifles, the sepoys had to bite off the paper on the cartridges. Both Hindu and Muslim sepoys refused to use them. In 1857, Mangal Pandey, a sepoy in Barakpur, had refused to use the cartridges and attacked his senior officers. He was hanged to death on 8th April. On 9th May, 85 soldiers in Meerut refused to use the new rifle and were sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Centers of the revolt. The revolt spread over the entire area from the neighborhood of Patna to the borders of Rajasthan. The main centers of revolt in these regions, namely Kanpur, Lucknow, Bareilly, Jhansi, Gwalior and Ara in Bihar. In Lucknow, the revolt was led by Begum Hazrat Mahal. In Kanpur, it was led by Nana Sahib. In Jhansi, it was led by Rani Lakshmi Bai, whereas in Bihar, the revolt was led by Kunwar Singh. Suppression of the revolt. The revolt of 1857 lasted for more than a year. It was suppressed by the middle of 1858. On July 8, 1858, 14 months after the outbreak, at Meerut, peace was finally proclaimed by Lord Canning. Some of the places of the revolt and British officers who suppressed the revolt are, like in Delhi, it was suppressed by John Nicholson, in Lucknow by Henry Lawrence, in Bihar by William Taylor. Why did the revolt fail? The revolt of 1857 was an unsuccessful but heroic effort to eliminate British rule. The main causes were limited uprising. Although the revolt was fairly widespread, a large part of the country remained unaffected by it. The revolt was mainly confined to the Doab region. No effective leadership. The rebels lacked an effective leader. Although Nana Sahib and Rani Lakshmibai were brave leaders, they could not offer effective leadership to the movement as a whole. Limited resources. The rebels lacked resources in terms of men and money. No participation of the middle class. The English educated middle class, the rich merchant, traders and jamindars of Bengal helped the Britishers to suppress the revolt. Impact of the Revolt of 1857. On August 2, 1858, the British Parliament passed an act which put an end to the rule of company. The control of the British government in India was transferred to the British Crown. A minister of the British government, called the Secretary of State for India, was made responsible for the governance of India. The British Governor General of India was now also given the title of Viceroy, who was also the representative of the monarch. Marked the end of the British imperialism, and princely states were assured against the annexation. Doctrine of lapse was withdrawn. After the revolt, the British followed the policy of divide and rule. Far-reaching changes were made in the administration and increase of white soldiers in the army. Total expenses of the suppression was thrown on the Indian people. With this, I end the topic of Revolt of 1857. Thank you.